I can understand. It would seem more sensible to keep it at the 25 mile.
Sure.
Because once you get beyond that, it becomes more and more difficult to deal with. Yes. So you satisfy with resources now. The Texas Border Sheriff's Coalition. I suppose they're ones that are. It's a good group, I guess.
Yes, sir. We're part of that, matter of fact, and that's who I'm having the meetings with over this big grant.
Anything our local sheriff can do to help out with?
They're asking for letters of support, and what we're talking about right now is we certainly like to see that 100-mile marker changed to 25, and I think at that point we see.
Remember that part, Steve?
Yeah.
100-mile marker changed to 25, because we know the sheriff pretty well in Travis County.
Yes, sir.
Greg Hamilton, he's all right. He's been on the show a couple of times.
Yes, sir.
He'll come on again, and I'll tell him the 100-mile marker changed to 25.
What's that mean?
The funding they're going to provide, we're lobbying for them to change to include agencies only in 25 marker radius from the border, as opposed to 100. Of course, you got that many more agencies.
Yeah, that would be clear out of several sheriff's agencies.
It's going to, and actually it covers municipalities, so police departments can put in for it too, and that's good. That's one thing that hasn't happened much, is that all this goes to sheriff's departments, and I come from a police department, so whenever these actual
Laredo PD's covered.
I'm sorry, yes, sir. Yes, sir. So whenever they know these narcotics go through, or these go through, they end up in the cities. So they got to combat it also. So by all means, they need their assistance.
Well, that is good. The Sheriff's Coalition has many programs like Blue Servo. Could you tell us something about Blue Servo? Are you familiar with it?
Yeah, off the top of my head, no, sir. I've heard of it, and I'm not familiar.
Okay. Any other programs that are really outstanding you'd like to tell the folks about that the Border Sheriff's Coalition are working on?
One of the things, and you know what, this might be the Blue Servo. One of the things that we're dealing with also is or they're talking about doing and are doing is the cameras are put along the border, where I believe the public's able to call in.
No, I'm stuck on Blue Servo. I thought I knew what Blue Servo was. I think you're right. It wasn't.
Is it?
The cameras.
Okay, and so that's available, and I think that's going to be implemented, and then the public's able to report to the local law enforcement, and then we're able to respond to it. I think that's a very good thing that they're doing. Anything helps, as opposed to.
I bet it would. Here in Austin, they've had a major drug bust, and they've talked about transnational gangs are working in and out of Austin. I don't know why. Austin's not that big of a shipment point, I guess.
It is now.
Let me see. Let's hold on to Laredo's missing and go to transnational gang activity. We did read the report that some of the drug cartels were hiring like Laredo teenagers and putting them on a retainer, and when they needed some work done, they'd hire them out.
Well, we hear that, and those are the odds. It happens. Matter of fact, we have some of them in court now. Back in 05 and 06, when I was talking about the violence,
yes, sir.
Some of that was done back then. So it's
pretty much under control now.
Well, we don't hear like we used to. So we hope it is.
So
it's there, but I know it's not as bad as it was.
Yes, sir. Any other transnational gang activity you'd like to mention about, or?
Well, that's really, there's different gangs, of course, that recruit over here, and by all means they need to. That's just part of their business of transporting narcotics. It's how they fund most of the merchandise that they use or the products that they use. But not in one particular gang. There's several of them, of course.
There's more. Laredo's missing.
Yes, sir.
Now, you did mention earlier about a kidnap case where the local across the river would help.
Yes, sir.
This Laredo's missing. What can you tell us about them? Is this really sometimes we have a tendency to think that all the problems, if you're not involved with drugs, you don't have to worry about it.
Right.
Is this pretty much a correct, are these people, do they just jerk people off the street and hold them for ransom like in Brazil or something?
Monterey recently.
You know, we've heard of that in Mexico. Here you don't hear it as often, but it occurs in Mexico, and it has. And unfortunately, some of these families are a victim of that. Laredo Missing is very active. We work alongside with them, and they're very active in helping the families and any tips that they provide, and by all means keeping in touch with their families. So they're an active group in Laredo.
Yes, sir. Well, I haven't spoken with anybody from Laredo's Missing. But I do know in one case, these two girls, their boyfriends were some kind of drug dealers here in Laredo. or they've worked with them, and so
Yes, sir.
that would come back for our tourism thing. I try to tell people it's not that dangerous to go to Nuevo Laredo.
Right.
At least it hadn't been for us.
Yeah, well,
We haven't been in a while.
I haven't been, of course. Being in law enforcement is probably a little more difficult for us.
Yes, sir. I imagine it'd probably be best if you didn't.
Yes, sir.
Which brings us to the next pushback. Is there any problem with pushback in your department?
As far as
I know in the Border Patrol, with the increased enforcement, that sometimes these drug dealers, they don't give up like they used to.
right.
They'll throw spikes out on the highway and haul ass, or even start shooting.
Yes, sir.
Have we seen any of that in the sheriff's department?
Nothing more than usual. We get into
More than usual.
Well, I say more than usual. Car chases. We have car chases all the time, and then some of those are illegal, and they carry narcotics. But nothing besides that. We haven't had anything where we've gotten ourselves into a shooting or anything like that.
No increased. They call it pushback is the term we used, and I thought that I would ask if y'all seen any of that either.
Our officers haven't dealt with that, and I hope we don't.
Yes, sir. I bet the citizen driving down the highway hope you don't too, huh?
That's right.
Laredo's missing transnational gangs pushback. You told us about Homeland Security. I don't want to take up too much of your time, and I appreciate that, sir.
No problem.
Anything else you can tell us about? What? I can hit up the local sheriff to change from 100 miles. What is that program called?
I forgot the name of the grant, sir. Honestly,
It's a grant that.
I can sure get that for you, though.
Okay. Maybe you can email it to me, and I'll talk to Greg Hamilton, and it sounds like that'd be a worthy program for
Sure.
not only local sheriff, but maybe citizens could sign a petition or something.
Sure. I think that we've been wanting a grant like this for many years, and
Is that right?
I'm finally seeing it coming in the pipeline, and that's really getting more boots in the ground. Because our officers, you work them to the ground, and that doesn't it's not as effective as you would if you had more troops, as opposed to working the ones on the ground that you have.
And plus, it's a lot easier on the ones you have if you
Yes,
give them a break every now and then.
Yes, sir.
I know this isn't easy work.
Yeah, they work overtime every day. We have officers working overtime. As a matter of fact, and this is the thing about that grant. And a lot of people say the federal government doesn't help, and then you got to be realistic. They do help, and you always want more. But one of the things that helps us out, like you said, you saw some officers out there. The odds are one or two of those were probably in overtime. If we didn't have that overtime, we wouldn't have as much visibility out there.
Yes, sir. And the visibility is good.
Very, very much so.
But yeah, I know. Soon you got to give your officers a break
Yes, sir.
every now and then. What else did I want to add to this? Anything you want to add to this, Steve?
Is there, do you have to keep an extra, is there problems with smuggling in the Old Mine Road area?
Old Mines Road, yes, that's one of the high areas. There's several, of course, high visible areas that we target, and the Mines Road is used a lot. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Let's see, there's been so many changes.
What do they smuggle up and down the road, or do they go across private land there?
They'll do both. Yes, sir. Mainly across private land. A lot of the loads that we get, I say loads of marijuana, they're still wet. I swim them across. A lot of them are still wet.
Do you think the ranchers are involved, or?
No, most of the time they're not, but every once in a while you'll run into one. But most of the time they're just coming across.
Oh, and do you have a lot of complaints from the ranchers about
Yes,
destruction caused by
Yes,
these
sir.
illegals coming
Yes, sir,
through?
they sure do. They bust the fences every once in a while and things
When you
like
catch
that.
them there, do you prosecute them for trespassing?
If the owner wants to prosecute, yes. Majority of the time they're happy that we got them with the drugs, so they're pretty happy about that. Yes, sir. So we don't get them too much, they prosecute too often, but they're by all means capable of doing that. Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Because it is private property.
The sheriff, it's been a while since I kept up with the politics here. I know the sheriff wasn't the same one 6-7 years ago.
No, sir. He's new in the office. He's retired Department of Public Safety lieutenant.
Okay.
And he was assigned here in Laredo.
Got good
And
credentials.
Yes, sir. We came into office about 1 year and 4 months ago.
Okay. Oh, that's quick.
Yes, sir.
I don't know how many sheriffs you've had since then. I can't even remember his name now from 06.
06 was it was Rick Flores.
Flores, yeah.
Yes, sir. Rick Flores.
Okay, well I hope he's doing all right.
So I believe he took a police chief job in Arizona, I believe, somewhere over there, or New Mexico, one or the other.
Well, that is good. Well, sir, I appreciate your time.
No problem. Thank you.